Now let's see the other type of tissue, that is muscle tissue. We have seen epithelial tissue and connective tissue, and we have seen their functions. Epithelial tissue as in protection, secretion or absorption, whereas connective tissue in binding, structural support, protection, insulation and contraction. And this type of tissue, which is called as muscle tissue, is having adequate contractility, and it is necessary for movement of organs within the body and also the body itself. And skeletal muscle tissue is richly supplied with blood vessels, because for the muscles to contract, it requires oxygen, calcium and nutrients, and these will be supplied by the blood. There are three different types of muscle tissue: skeletal muscle tissue, smooth muscle tissue and cardiac muscle tissue, and all these are specialized fibers which are contractile in nature. So here we might be using the term fibers in the place of cells, because the length of these fibers will be about 35 centimeters. So hence, in some cases, especially in skeletal muscle cells, we will be calling them as skeletal muscle fibers. Now let's see them in detail.
Muscles come in various types depending on their functions. So, are we trying to say that muscles in our stomach are different from those in our biceps? Of course they are. The fact that both serve different functions itself suggests that their structure and nature is going to be different. So, what are the various types of muscular tissue? Well, for simplicity of understanding, we divide them into three major categories: striated muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles.
So we will start with skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is also called as striated muscle or voluntary muscles. So it is called as skeletal muscles because these muscles are attached to the bones of skeleton, and they are essential for the movement of these bones. And when it is observed microscopically, we can see stripes on them. Hence, it is called as striated muscle. And the function of these skeletal muscle fibers can be controlled consciously. That means they can be regulated based upon our will. So hence, these are also called as voluntary muscles. Almost all the skeletal muscles, they are involved in movement of the bones, except a diaphragm, so which is involved in regulating the breathing movement, helping the lungs. In general, many movements are controlled and requires fine coordination. Example, writing or drawing. Whereas some activities of skeletal muscle functions subconsciously. For example, we stand, and this maintenance of posture, it does not require a constant input to the muscles. In the same way, movement of diaphragm during sleep also is under subconscious control. Skeletal muscle fibers or cells, they are cylindrical in shape and they grow up to 35 centimeters in length, and we can find various striations on them. Skeletal muscle contraction is regulated by motor nerves. Motor nerves are also nerves which carry impulses from the spinal cord to the skeletal muscle. Impulses will come from the brain and spinal cord to the skeletal muscle, and This motor nerve, it ends at the skeletal muscle, and this particular region, it is called as neuromuscular junction, where there occurs exchange of information from the nerves to the muscle, and this information, it leads to contraction of skeletal muscle. Now let's see the organization of skeletal muscle. Each skeletal muscle consists of thousands of muscle fibers along with blood vessels and nerves. So here these are arranged as bundles. All the muscle fibers are covered by a connective tissue layer which is called as epimysium, and under this epimysium, bundles of muscle fibers are grouped together to form fascicles, and each fascicle is once again covered by an connective tissue which is called as perimysium, and in each fascicle it consists of many individual muscle fibers which are once again covered by an connective tissue sheath which is called as endomysium. And these connective tissue sheaths of muscle fibers, of fascicles, of the whole muscle run throughout the length of these muscle fibers, and they combine to form a tendon. In general, tendon is the one which gives attachment between the muscle and bone. Tendon is a rope-like structure, whereas tendons which are flat and which appears as a sheet, it is called as aponeurosis. Example of such is occipitofrontalis muscle, which is present on the skull bone. Now let's see the structure of skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle, when observed under microscope, it consists of cylindrical cells, and these cylindrical cells, they consist of many nuclei. Unlike the other cells where we have seen which consists of only one nuclei, skeletal muscle cells, they consist of many nuclei because they are large, which grow up to 35 centimeters in length. Apart from this, we have seen skeletal muscle cells, they are striated. So when observed under a microscope, we can see banded appearance on the fibers. So here there is alternating dark and light bands which gives a characteristic striated appearance. Apart from this, the nucleus in the muscle cell lies just below the membrane, and this membrane of skeletal muscle cell is called as sarcolemma, and the cytoplasm of skeletal muscle is called as sarcoplasm. There are various filaments which are present within the skeletal muscle fiber, and they run longitudinally throughout the length of skeletal muscle cells, and these filaments are actin and myosin. Apart from this, skeletal muscle cells also consist of a protein called as myoglobin. Myoglobin is having an oxygen binding capacity similar to that of hemoglobin in blood, and skeletal muscle cells also consist of many mitochondria because skeletal muscle cell is extensively working cell, and this requires more amount of energy in the form of ATP, and the skeletal muscle cells mitochondria synthesizes this ATP from glucose and oxygen. These skeletal muscle cells also consist of abundant calcium stores. So whenever the muscle cell is stimulated by a nerve impulse, it leads to release of calcium from these intracellular stores, and which facilitate the contraction of skeletal muscle fiber by stimulating the contraction of filaments such as actin and myosin. The main function of skeletal muscle is contraction, and movement of skeleton.
The first one is called striated muscles. Now, as the name suggests, striated means when we stain this tissue and observe it under the microscope, then it exhibits striations in the form of alternate light and dark bands. Where do we find this type, by the way? We find these striated muscles attached to the bones. Hence, they are also named as the skeletal muscles. Also, when we say attached to the skeleton, it means they help in movement of our hands and legs along with locomotion. So can we say that their action is carried out according to our will? Absolutely. And that is the reason why we also call them the voluntary muscles. Thus, striated muscles are called as skeletal muscles and voluntary muscles as well. These are found to have a typical cylindrical structure due to wrapping of the long muscle fibers together. These are usually unbranched and multinucleate in nature.
Now let's see the other type of muscle tissue, that is smooth muscle. Unlike skeletal muscle, smooth muscle is non-striated. It is also called as a visceral muscle or an involuntary muscle, because we cannot find any striations in smooth muscle tissue, and smooth muscle tissue is abundantly found in visceral organs, and this is under involuntary control. It means it is not under conscious control, where we cannot regulate the movement of smooth muscle. And smooth muscle is also involved in contraction, but this contraction, it is mediated through autonomic nerves, because smooth muscles receive autonomic nerve innervation, whereas skeletal muscles receive somatic nerve innervation. Apart from these autonomic nerves, some hormones and local metabolites also are having an ability to contract the smooth muscle. Some smooth muscles, they have an intrinsic ability to contract, which contract on their own, and this property is called as automaticity. In some cases, the smooth muscles also have a degree of muscle tone. It means that they are not completely relaxed and they retain some of its contractility. Contraction of smooth muscle, it is slower, but it is sustained for a prolonged period when compared to that of skeletal muscle contraction, where skeletal muscle contraction is fast and short. Smooth muscle contraction is slow and exists for a prolonged duration. Smooth muscle is found in various hollow organs such as blood vessels, respiratory tract, and alimentary canal. In these cases, it regulates the diameter of these hollow organs, whereas they are also involved in propelling the contents such as ureters, ducts of exocrine glands, and in some cases they are involved in expelling the contents, for example contraction of urinary bladder and uterus. When observed microscopically, these smooth muscle cells appear to be spindle shaped and they have a single central nucleus, and groups of these spindle shaped cells are present as sheaths in all the organs which are especially under involuntary control.
Smooth muscles. These are also called as unstriated and involuntary. Now we can guess their structure and nature from the names itself. Smooth or unstriated because they do not present a banding pattern like the striated ones when stained and observed under a microscope. Instead, they have long spindle-shaped uninucleate cells. And why involuntary? Yes, because their activities are not under our control. So what could be their location now? Well, We find smooth muscles in the stomach, in the bronchi, in the uterus, and also in the iris of eyes.
Now, let's see about the other type of muscle tissue, that is cardiac muscle. Cardiac muscle is present only in the heart wall, and unlike the skeletal muscle and smooth muscle, this cardiac muscle, it appears to be a continuous sheath. Here the cells also have various striations on them similar to that of skeletal muscle cells, and each cell once again consists of a single nucleus, and they also have certain branches. The ends of the cells or that of the branches, they form a close joint with that of other branches or other cells, and these are called as intercalated discs. When observed microscopically, these intercalated discs are more darker when compared to the striations. Because of this close arrangement of individual cells, skeletal muscle fibers contraction appears to be as a wave, and it is not necessary for each and every individual cell to be stimulated. Stimulation of one cell will carry the impulse throughout the other cells, which forms a continuous contraction within the sheath. The cardiac muscle has an intrinsic pacemaker system, so where an impulses will be generated by this system, which leads to a coordinated contraction without the involvement of any nervous innervation. Though it is regulated by autonomic nerves or hormones or local metabolites, cardiac muscle has its own contraction regulating system.
Cardiac muscles. Again, these muscles are those found in the heart. So the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of our heart or the working of our heart is all because of these cardiac muscles. Although they are involuntary in activity, their structure is like that of striated muscles partially. They are cylindrical and branched but uninucleate in nature. These muscles perform rhythmic contraction and relaxation tirelessly throughout our life.
These are the various types of muscle tissues.